Many things in this world require our control and management, and money, given its importance to us, needs to be managed wisely even more. Without us, it is nothing, just trash. Without people, money will quickly fly away in all directions at the first breath of wind. We can and must manage money, because money is our slave. Managing money requires willpower, strict self-discipline, and a high degree of rationality. That is, it turns out that it begins with a person managing himself. Yes, this is how it really is, because it is we who give value, and therefore power, to money, by our attitude towards it. All our money shouldn't be lying around at home doing nothing. Of course we need to have some strategic reserves. You can keep some under your mattress at home, and you can and should take some to the bank so that at least some interest accrues on your money. But you need to direct the bulk of the money you earn to the right goals, that is, to goals that will benefit you, both in the short and long term, and not someone else. The most valuable thing you can buy for your money is time. In fact, it is this time that you are deprived of through inflation, when you are simply robbed, devaluing your funds. And since this is so, it means that you need to have not so much savings of a certain amount of money and constantly tremble over it, but good sources of income that will provide you with money regardless of the purchasing power of this or that currency, in this or that period of time. Spending your money left and right, justifying your madness with thoughts that we live only once and therefore we must take everything we can from life, is also not worth it. Only very unreasonable people can live for today, who often pay very dearly for this life position. And they do not take everything from life, they take from it mainly all the garbage that is thrown at them. If it were all so simple, when a person does not have to think about anything at all, people would have long ago degraded to the level of locusts, who can only eat and defecate, but so, for the sake of a good life, we have to think about tomorrow and even the day after tomorrow, wisely managing all our money. Well, let's see how people do it, how they manage their money, and how it should be done in general. Income. In order to manage money, you need to have it, and in order to have money, you need to have some income. It doesn't matter whether you earn money through hired labor, are in business, or are a nightmare for a business, or are just sitting on someone's neck. If money comes to you somehow, then you have income. And if you don't, then you need to provide it for yourself. In general, in order to get money to manage, you need to get it somewhere somehow. Let's think about the best way to do this. The simplest thing is probably to find some kind of work for which you will be paid money in the form of a salary, and you will then manage it at your own discretion. This is what most people do. They find a job and earn money from it, which they then spend with pleasure. Work is a good way to get money, besides, it is the most common way. But this method is not always and not for everyone profitable. After all, work can be different, as well as wages. Some people will even say that it is better to sit with an outstretched hand, in a good, crowded place, asking for alms, then you won't have to toil, and you can earn a lot of money. Sit and sit, with the look of a person suffering from a hard life, and stupid people will give you money to live on. They are right, they are good. Well, to each his own. Some girls, lazy girls, even look for male sponsors, and half men look for female sponsors, that is, a mother who will feed them, give them something to drink, wipe their snot and give them money for toys. In general, this parasitism has become the norm for us today. First the women got lazy, and then the men. It seems to me, or rather, I observe this, that the more people there are on our planet, the more parasites we have, not workers. The question is, why do we need so many parasites? Maybe we don't need so many people, maybe we need to reproduce less? Oh well, the globalists will figure this issue out somehow. No one will sterilize people anyway, because it is inhumane, and besides, eugenics did not justify itself. Handicapped children were still born, and under favorable conditions, even in fairly large numbers. Therefore, let each person live the way he wants, and if only parasites remain in our society, then they themselves will devour each other like spiders in a jar. The essence of the issue we are considering is this: having an income, we begin to contact money directly, and begin to manage it, and the higher our income, the more successful managers we feel. Well, in connection with the above, I have a question for you, friends. To what extent are you satisfied with your income? And in general, do you have one or several sources of income? If you have one source of income, then this is bad, very bad, because you are vulnerable to all kinds of instability, which can deprive you of all means of existence at once. And we have no stability, the world is very fragile, and no one knows what can happen tomorrow. If you get fired, or your sponsor kicks the bucket, what will you do then? No, I understand that you will get by, perhaps you will not die of hunger, therefore, when there is a problem, then you will solve it, and while there is none, why bother your head with such unpleasant questions, right? But maybe it is still worth bothering it, your head, with at least one such question? You understand, it is necessary to manage money from beginning to end, that is, from the beginning of its receipt until its complete disappearance. And it is better to get money in several ways, or at least think about new ways to get it, in advance, so that in case plan A fails, you have a backup plan B. It is good to be a prudent person, right? And to be a person with several sources of income even better. So, dear readers, you need to look for opportunities to earn money in several ways, and the more of these ways you have, the better. You shouldn't lock yourself in your one and only, painfully familiar, and therefore beloved job. Look around, there's a sea of money all around, which settles in other people's pockets. However, I wouldn't recommend you to sacrifice everything for the sake of dough. Otherwise, there are, for example, brainless suckers who crawl under any wrinkled cellulite for money, and live not as people, but as some kind of thing that rich sugar daddies use as needed. Well, in my opinion, this is really stupid. Of course, I understand that a sucker is a sucker, it's just a body, a doll, and it has no brains at all, even to realize itself as a person, but still, we are talking about a living person, and not about a real doll. A person needs to respect himself, value himself, and learn to take care of himself. And all this talk about how we only live once, and therefore we must try everything, take everything from life, and for money we should sell ourselves at the first opportunity, so that, you know, we can live like a human being, that, my friends, is all nonsense. How do you know how many times you live, once or 10, or maybe even 1,000 times? And then, this statement, take everything from life, what is that all? You take from life exactly as much as you can take, and to be more precise, you take from it what you are allowed to take, and if a pig's milk and drugs are everything for someone, well, then there is nothing to discuss with such a person. Such a person will never control any money, but he himself, with the help of this money, will be controlled like a doll constantly. You need to be able to earn money in normal ways, so that you can really live with it, and not for its sake, and so that you don't sell your soul for it. Otherwise, it will turn out that you have a lot of money, but you yourself belong to someone, that's and all, and then what difference does it make what kind of car or house you have, if you yourself are a thing? In that case, you can only imagine yourself as a person. In short, friends, multiply your income, don't sit on only one financial needle, but don't go to extremes, don't allow someone to control you for the sake of managing your money. And in general, the meaning of increasing sources of income is very simple. It comes down to the fact that you need to learn how to do more than anything else, so that people pay you money for your extensive knowledge and skills. If you only know how to weave bast shoes, then you will have only one source of income, but if you also learn how to clean snow, and lay bricks, and also learn English, so that if anything, you can become a translator at the embassy, then in this case, you will have significantly more opportunities to earn money. So, Depending on your knowledge and skills, you can encounter money in a variety of circumstances and find a common language with it, that is, attract it to yourself. Well, how is this not money management? Learn to fish money out of the general cash flow, which is full of it. This is where you should start managing money. A person should be able to get the money he needs for life in any conditions and under any circumstances. Expenses. Let's assume that you have everything in order with the flow of money into your budget. It trickles down to you steadily and from several taps, or at least you can open the tap you need at any time. What happens next? And then, the money is waiting for what you will do with it, whether you will throw it away or put it to use. It is very interesting for them to know. Money loves serious people. Idlers and spendthrifts are perceived negatively by them, because such blockheads part with it too quickly, and no one likes it when they are thrown away. Do you love money, friends? Or do you hate it? Do not rush to answer this question, because if you like to spend money on everything, parting with it at the first opportunity, then only in the second place does this indicate that you do not know how to manage it, and in the first place, we can safely say that you do not love it, you hate it. But you need money, right? And if you need it, you need to love it, and really love it. What's the point of being able to manage money if you just won't have it? After all, any management of something or someone implies some benefit from this management, because only children can do something just like that, without any specific goal, without any benefit for themselves. And you, I suppose, are adults, and therefore practical. Therefore, do not drive away money, which is your slave, or, to be more precise, your tool for managing slaves. You need to respect it and treat it carefully. Do not drive away money, do not spend it on all sorts of nonsense. If you are thrown out the door, will you like it, considering that you did not even dream of it? I am sure you will not. Money also does not like it when it is got rid of at the first opportunity, so it will not serve a person who does not respect it. Try to understand this. Don't throw money around left and right. Every penny deserves respect, because rubles are made up of pennies, and tens, hundreds, thousands, and so on of rubles. And if a person does not learn to manage pennies, then he will not be able to manage millions correctly. Many people, for some reason, believe that only big money can be managed correctly. They believe that if they had a lot of money, they would be able to manage it correctly. They would be able to not just spend it stupidly, but also invest it effectively. Yeah, right. If a person cannot figure out a small amount of money, then he will not be able to cope with a lot of money either. It will rather drive him crazy than obey him. I know this from my own experience. I myself have lost money out of stupidity, and I have seen how other people lost theirs. Fortunately, there was something to lose, which means there was something to learn from. But still, experience is experience, and when your money leaves you and nothing comes in return, it is very difficult to accept, especially if you are not used to it. Keep track of all your money, both the money you earn and the money you spend, and don't let even the smallest amounts of money go anywhere. There is such a thing as small expenses, which a person should be wary of. These small expenses are like small holes in a bucket of water, through which water, and in our case money, flows out of the bucket slowly but steadily, and most importantly, unnoticed. Of course, in the lives of those people who keep household accounts, all expenses without exception are taken into account and controlled in a certain way, but how many people keep these accounts? To do this, you need to be a disciplined person, and even after buying gum in a store, or paying for public transport, write down every penny in the expense item and then analyze the need for each such random expense. And many people suffer from discipline, unfortunately, so small expenses may not be taken into account or analyzed by them at all. What can I say? Large expenses are not taken into account and analyzed by everyone, not to mention small expenses. And by the way, it's in vain. I understand that many of you want to be cool, rich, free, and if not to be, then at least to seem so. I see how many people upload their photos to social networks, with this monotonous vacation in the South, including in such homeless shelters as Turkey and Egypt, where our citizens are not respected at all. I see how people proudly take pictures with their car, for which they will give half of their salary for 5 years or more, and I see many other things that many people want to share and are proud of. People want to seem happy, successful, rich, prosperous, satisfied with their lives. People want to show their lives in the best light. They want to show their happiness to other people who, in fact, do not care about all this. And things are the same with money. Many people spend it as if they belong to the elite of society, for whom it makes no sense to count pennies, who do not even know how much bread costs in the store. But you are not the elite, friends, no matter how much you would like to be. I don't even know if this elite reads me, if those who don't count money read me, because there is no point in these people reading me, because they don't need the information I provide, because they already know it without me. But I know for sure that most people reading this article are ordinary people who don't have much money. And if that's the case, then don't imagine yourself as someone you're not. Be realistic and manage your money, earned with sweat and blood, adequately. And in general, to be honest, most of you have nothing in this life. All that junk that you consider your property, your apartment, your car, your expensive furniture, your electronics, your jewelry, and even your money itself, you can be deprived of all of this at any moment. Don't think that we live in a truly stable world in which private property is inviolable. It's not stable at all, and if we talk about some countries that only from a distance resemble democracies, then private property is not respected or protected at all, it is confiscated. They will raise your property tax tomorrow, raise the prices for gasoline, food, rent, and you will instantly become impoverished. And don't think that this will not happen, because with the ugly economy in which we live, anything can happen. I am not even talking about the fact that most of your property was bought by you on credit, and you really cannot afford all these things, because in reality you are poor, but credit makes you a rich person, or rather, it allows you to appear to be one. As for money, the most deadly event that can happen to a person who has some savings is the devaluation of the national currency. This is when all your money turns into trash. By the way, this is why I recommend people to keep their money in dollars, first of all, and in euros, secondly, because it is the most stable currency today. But you can lose it, or rather, you can lose those of its capabilities that it has within the borders of a particular country. Do not forget that those guys who are at the helm, in a particular country, can issue any laws they want to issue for their own good, and you will be forced to obey them. And what laws can be adopted today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, we do not know, but one thing is clear, these laws can greatly harm us. So, I repeat once again, be realistic, do not think of yourself as God knows who. No matter how much you have now, it is better to think about how to manage all this wealth wisely, how to manage the money you have, what to invest it in, what to spend it on, how much of it and how to save it. My articles will help you with this. And I myself, from time to time, help people with my services on the internet, when I have time for it, so follow my offers on this site, if of course, you are interested in my services, and if you need them. And the advice on money management I give is useful. This has been repeatedly verified by the results that people who turn to me for help have achieved. But, now, at the time of writing this article, I work with real people, regular, so to speak, clients, and on the internet I earn extra money as a financial advisor, from time to time. Considering the fact that the vast majority of people believe that they know how to manage their money, and in particular, they believe that they are definitely able to spend money without anyone's help, they do not notice the mistakes they make in relation to money. In fact, Many of us are forced to work until the seventh sweat in order to earn something for a living. But as soon as people earn this something, this miserable pittance in the form of a pitiful salary, it immediately begins to ask to fall into other people's hands. There are plenty of things around, and they want to have them all. Why do we need these things? That's another question, but we want to have them. I'll tell you more precisely, a person wants to buy these things more than have them, that's the whole point. And then, the goods they bought can be thrown away. But for the sake of a moment of joy that comes to a person at the moment of buying something, you can part with your hard-earned money without a shred of regret. Is it possible or not? Or maybe it's better to spend the money on your own education, on your own development, on your own health, and finally, on time to live a normal life, and not to serve money, killing your life at work. You live like robots, running to and from work. Everywhere you are forced to play the role of a correct person from a social point of view. Everywhere you are forced to act in a certain way in order to do the right thing, as it should be, as it should be. People, when do you live? When do you pay attention to what is around you? When do you pay attention to yourselves? Money control earning and spending money, you certainly manage it, but in order to manage it effectively, you need to control it, having first learned to control yourself. Yes, controlling money, and at the same time managing money, implies your effective, that is, rational handling of it, and not irrational squandering of it, in which a person behaves extremely thoughtlessly, instinctively, abruptly. I don't need to tell you that before doing something, you need to think carefully. This truism, although it is on the tip of many people's tongues, in fact, is observed by only a few of the most reasonable people. And yet, you need to learn to think. You can start by doing this on paper, writing down all your decisions on it and then justifying them to yourself, preferably doing this before making these decisions. Those people who deal with computers can also use a text editor. The main thing is that you see your own control over yourself. Well, and then you can start building complex logical chains in your head, replacing your emotional excitability with constructive thoughts. The main thing is to think, always and everywhere, and then you will develop a completely different, more effective attitude towards money. By controlling something and especially someone, we gain peace, and having gained peace, we gradually begin to gain self-confidence, which in turn allows us to be bolder and more decisive in achieving our goals. In this way, we can come to a fairly prosperous life, to a life in which there will be not only money, but also some power. And if you have power, then you will also have money, because power provides a person with great opportunities, which it would be a sin not to use to improve your life. So, control of money is very important for us, but in order to control it, we, I repeat, must learn to control ourselves. After all, if we do not control ourselves, if we follow the lead of money, then it is not money that controls us in reality, it is other people who make us their slaves through money. Our brains are already filled with all sorts of nonsense. Our brains are washed through TV, radio, newspapers, through various books, and now through the internet, in which you can't understand anything at all if you don't have true basic knowledge or some rich life experience. In other words, you and I live in a world about which we know little, and as far as the world of people and the world of money are concerned, this world is definitely mired in lies and violence. People kill, die, and cheat for money. This is almost the norm in this world. But everything could be different if we were a little smarter, the majority of us. Most of all, we can make claims to our education system, which, as I have already written in some of my articles, does not meet the interests of the individual, on whose quality the quality of society depends. This system meets the interests of a selfish society, the interests of the crowd, which, as we know, is more stupid than the stupidest person among it, and the interests of the elite, which does not need very literate people. I recommend you read the book by John Taylor Gatto, The Puppet Factory. Confessions of a Schoolteacher. This is a very interesting book from my point of view, which helps to ask very correct questions regarding education. So, due to the peculiarities of our education, it turns out that our society consists of people opposing each other and no one in it is really united, not organized. But a united and well-organized elite very effectively manages this disunited and formatted crowd, in which each individual considers himself an incredibly smart person, but in fact, works according to a strictly defined program. But we can make claims against education and against everything else that we don't like for one reason or another, but do we need to do this? That is the question. Who would want to adapt to us, especially to each of us individually? Who needs us? No one needs us as friends, no one. No one will adapt to us. Therefore, we ourselves need to build our behavior in such a way that it meets first of all our personal interests, on the ability to defend which depends a person's success in this harsh world, the world of money. But you need to defend your interests competently, so as not to stupidly pull the blanket over yourself, putting on display all your egoism and stupidity, in all their glory, but to be able to interact with other people, to be able to negotiate with them, to be able to take into account their interests in order to find friends and allies, and not enemies and haters. Therefore, I will repeat to you once again that money should be under your strict control, and for this you should be able to control yourself, and in order to control yourself, you should educate yourself by reading smart books and my articles. If advertising brainwashes you and forces you to part with your money, then it is advertising, and not you, that controls your money by controlling your brain. It plays on your instincts, and you dance to its tune, and as a result, someone has sky-high profits, and you are poor as a church mouse and angry at this whole unfair world. If you tell me that you do not have money to spend thoughtlessly, then I will answer you that you do not know how to earn it, and this is a problem for you that you need to solve. By and large, it does not matter at all what kind of problem with money a person has. What is important is whether he knows about it, whether he understands it, whether he solves this problem, and if so, how. You see, how many questions you can ask yourself, or a financial advisor, a financial consultant, to whom you decide to entrust your money problems. And there can be many such links of one chain, depending on the level of awareness of this or that person. You should be able to see your whole life, and not look at it only from your position, which is limited by the meagerness of your knowledge about this world. Read smart books, listen to smart people and listen to them, try to look at the world, including through their eyes, imagine, predict, reason and even fantasize, in general. Collect a picture of the world piece by piece in order to effectively navigate it and make the right decisions in certain situations. Then you will not have unnecessary and stupid questions about money, its earnings, and spending. Now, if I ask you to turn on the light, telling you where the switch is, will this request cause you problems in terms of the possibility of its fulfillment? I am sure that it will not. With the desire to fulfill it, yes, you may have problems. You may ask yourself, why should I suddenly do something that I am asked to do? But you will not have problems with the possibilities. But there are people who, having heard such a request, knowing where the switch is and having the desire to fulfill this request, can ask a stupid question, how to do it, how to turn the light on or off. Everyone has a different IQ, that's the thing. It's the same with money. You can tell a person, don't do one thing, but do another, and he can stupidly ask how to do this, or how not to do it. Well, what can you say? You have to chew everything up to the smallest detail for such a person. So to speak, explain to him step by step what and how he should do. So, when we control our money, controlling ourselves at the same time, firstly, we are not stupid, and do not ask questions like, how, where we can think. And secondly, we do everything that we should do, and do not do what is not profitable for us to do. If I tell you, do not give money to beggars, but you do not listen to me, then these poor beggars will manage your money, and not my wise advice will help you control them. A person with his prejudices can harm himself very much, acting according to a program previously embedded in him, and completely not understanding what he is doing. But when you think, when you reflect, then it becomes much easier for you to control yourself and your money. I hope you will come to this reasonable state, unless, of course, you are already reasonable enough, and then you, and not someone else, will decide what job and for what salary you should work, how and what you should spend your money on, how much you will save, and where you will invest your money, making it work for you. If you are in debt, if you have a lot of loans, if you do not keep your salary in hand at all, then you really have big problems with money control. I know that there are such men whose wives control their salary, and these men, only receive pocket money from their enterprising wives. This state of affairs is absolutely unacceptable for a real man. Are you crazy or something, to humiliate yourself like this? Are you man or rags on which you can wipe your feet from dog shit? Everyone should manage the money they earn themselves, especially a man, the head of the family, the owner, who must have both willpower and intelligence for this. And if you do not have all this, then you urgently need help, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a financial advisor, a priest, decide for yourself who exactly. Just do not be a stupid weakling whose woman takes all the money. When I come across such people, I am amazed at their lives, control over which they have given to everyone they could give, and they themselves only carry out other people's orders. This is especially shameful for would-be men who have nothing manly left except a wrinkled appendage. Yes, the quantity of people only reduces their quality, and at the same time the standard of living of a society oversaturated with people also decreases, which is clearly seen in the example of China and India, which are overpopulated with low-quality people, where many people are treated worse than dogs. But if we want to live well, we must understand that it is not the quantity of people that is important, but their quality. People must be healthy, educated, well-mannered, adapted to life in a civilized society, and not to camp life, and not to the life of animals. Today we all have the opportunity to live very well. We can make our lives much better by making ourselves better. There is no need to be raw material for Auschwitz, there is no need to live as it happens, as it turns out, understanding only a stick, and not human words. You came into this world as people, and who you become in life depends on you. You can earn good money, you can manage it wisely, you can increase it in various ways. All this can be done if you strive for a normal, human life. But still, the most important thing is not money, it is you, friends. Take care of yourself, educate yourself, raise yourself, develop yourself, and then you will live like people, in a normal society, and not like dogs in the conditions of wild capitalism, when the majority of people live by the principle everyone for himself, and the elite that controls them lives by the principle one for all and all for one. Only a reasonable person can manage money, people, their emotions, their own and other people's lives. The more normal people in our society, in every sense of the word, the better our society will live. And the less we will encounter violence, deception, poverty, corruption, and other nastiness that poisons our lives. Let's live like people by laws, and not like savages by concepts. In a society of normal people, problems with money are rare, as evidenced by the wisdom of the Talmud.